Do I? Do I want to record? Mark, do I want to record?
Well, if you want to get this thing done so you can get out of here and watch your fancy movies in a theater and everything, then you gotta hit record.
I think we'll be okay. So, how's it going?
It's going good.
I saw you yesterday.
Yeah, we're doing a good run of recording here.
Yeah, two podcasts before we go, like without recording any for a while, probably.
For like 8 weeks. But yeah, it's good to have like the band together again here. And no outsiders.
Yeah, guys. Mark actually wanted some guests today, but I was like, I don't have time.
I don't even want necessarily. Just asking. It's good to get other people involved too.
Yeah.
But
Mark doesn't like me.
Hold on, the disc is popping up here.
So,
okay.
Mark doesn't believe in having a player that can play things. He just believes in having a computer that's across the other side of the room and set up to sound, but the sound doesn't work on Blu-ray.
It didn't yesterday.
Didn't you? Oh, now it works?
It works.
Why do I not believe you?
Here, let me play the...
How did it not work yesterday?
I don't know. The drivers are having an issue.
Yeah. Well, okay. So we're watching...
We're all set up.
The Imaginarium
of Doctor
Parnassus.
That has Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger's last movie. Died in the middle of it.
Colin Farrell.
Not Colin
Firth. Christopher Plummer.
Yep.
He plays Dr. Parnassus, right?
I'll just let you...
I mean,
from your memory to see.
I know nothing about the movie.
Johnny Depp also.
Oh yeah, Johnny Depp.
Did we say Jude Law?
No, him
Jude
too.
Law. Yep. All of them came on board and replaced Heath Ledger because they had shot like half the movie and then he died halfway through it, and so they had to kind of like sit back and a little bit of time pass and figure out, okay, how do we figure this one out?
Basically, they rewrote it so Heath Ledger's character would look like different people throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Which I don't get, but hopefully it will make sense.
And I've seen it once. I remembered liking it, but I couldn't tell you the progression of the story. Like I don't remember that at all. Mm-hmm. And you haven't seen it before, right?
I haven't seen it. I don't even think I ever saw a trailer or anything. Mm-hmm. I heard it was a troubled production, not only because of Heath Ledger's demise.
What are your thoughts on Terry Gilliam?
He's got a lot of good movies, and he's got a lot of forgettable ones, I guess. I'm thinking of 12 Monkeys, great movie. Adventures of Baron Munchausen. That is a so-so movie, but with some great visuals.
Right.
I think he's very well known for that. Brazil is a big one. I think everybody kind of goes back. Remember how great Brazil was? Let's let Terry Gilliam make another movie.
Do they?
Fisher King.
I mean, that movie had so many problems in Universal, like...
But it's remembered well.
Recut it, and like the recut version is hilariously different.
Yeah. From
the European version, which is like... I guess they call the American version the Love Conquers All version. Mm-hmm. Because that's what happens, you know.
Yeah,
it's like upbeat and the guy wins, and the European version is just like, nope, we're just going to make this guy go through hell, and we're going to keep him there.
Yeah. But did he also do the Brothers Grimm movie with Matt Damon? Yeah, that was like a mainstream movie for him.
Visually, though, I thought it looked gorgeous. It just didn't. That's one I want to see again, to be honest, because I remember liking some of it was gorgeous and like the imagery was amazing.
Wasn't like Jonathan Pryce the bad guy in that movie?
That I don't remember. Wouldn't surprise me.
I think it is. I remember there was one scene where, I don't know, they have like a thing with a little bowl with kittens or something, and they're about to like put an industrial blender into this thing of kittens.
That sounds about right.
And then they're like, oh wait, these people are here to see you, so they stop. But it was like they were about to murder some kittens on screen. Or maybe they actually did. Maybe that's why it's so funny. I saw it in the theater.
No, I think what you're saying is right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. We're practically speculating because we don't remember the damn movie.
Right.
Like, that's one I definitely want to see again.
I never saw his...
I didn't see Zero Theorem.
Didn't see that one. I never saw the documentary The Lost in La Mancha.
Lost in La Mancha? You never saw it?
Never saw it.
That was actually another one I almost brought, but I couldn't find disc 1.
And now they're finally making the movie for real.
For real, after 15 years of
Yeah.
not having the rights. That's fascinating to me, like the whole thing. And I half expect him to die afterwards. Not to be morbid, but that's just kind of like, well, I got it done, now what? Blech.
Yeah, he's only been staying alive so he can do that thing. And once he does it, all the... Yeah.
George Burns said, I'm gonna live to be 100, and like died like right after that.
Mm-hmm.
So, go figure.
Statistically, a lot of people die right after their birthdays.
Really?
Yeah.
Everybody kind of holds out hope.
Yeah, they keep their body going somehow
I
until the
believe it.
birthday just to make it, and then
I believe it. Like, it's amazing how many people like hold out hope for something and get to the finish line and then just like it makes sense. Like you kind of go through a depression after you're done with a job or something. Like when you work so intensely on something and then you don't have anything to do, you're like, it takes a minute.
A depression sort of thing. I always considered it like if you have a real big project at work that you've been really stressed out about, your body will like fend off viruses and keep you from getting sick from the thing that's going around the office until you finish the project. When you relax, then your body goes, oh, okay, we're done. Let it all in, guys.
I was going to say the exact opposite. It seems like everybody in our office has been dropping like flies this past 2 weeks, and it's been like insane. I
think there are limits. If everybody's on this like 7-day-a-week thing, you can't do that for very long.
Yeah. Anyway, should we get started on this?
Yeah, let's hit the play button here.
All right.
1,000 years ago, Dr. Parnassus made a deal with the devil.
Stop!
You're probably not a betting man, are you? To gain immortality. It's been a while. But this came with a price.
Any child born at the age of 16 belonged to him.
Now, a mysterious outsider.
Can you put a price on your dreams?
Will take the traveling show beyond their imaginations.
The extraordinary Dr. Parnassus. What are you doing? Trying to save your daughter's life, sir?
You could save her. What do you say? First to 5 souls.
Voila. Oh, voila.
Nothing's permanent, not even death. The Imaginarium of Doctor Parnassus.
What a movie. What a ride.
I don't know that I remembered literally anything but like a little bit of the Imaginarium.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's actually not that much time spent in there. Far less than I thought it would.
Yeah. If you think about, this is a little morbid to talk about, but just like if you think about the fact that if someone were going to die in the course of a script, they shot everything with Heath Ledger that was outside of the Imaginarium, it seemed.
Yeah, they shot the easy stuff first.
And then in the crazy dream world thing, they hadn't shot his stuff yet for the most part.
Right, they had only begun, and then he,
And then he passes away. Like, if you think about, like, of all the situations that an actor could potentially die in the middle of a production.
That's the perfect situation.
And that's a horrible thing to say, but it is true. Like,
just talking pragmatically, if some horrible thing were to happen, that's where it should happen.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did it with Paul Walker in Fast and Furious, because I didn't see that movie.
Well, I know they used his brother.
Yeah, but they still CG'd his face on.
Yeah,
or something.
I think they said they didn't, but I mean, they might have done some of it. But they used old footage, is what I heard.
Yeah,
because they had 7 movies worth of footage.
I don't mean CG like they made up Princess Leia in Rogue One. I just mean like they used old stuff and kind of put it on a new body.
Mm-hmm. Well, Heath Ledger aside, what did you think of the movie?
Definitely worth a watch. It's pretty it's hard to follow at times. There are a lot of characters, and they do each have their own thing going on. And I was kind of confused because my preconceptions coming into this was that Heath Ledger's character, Tony, he was like the hero.
The main character.
He was the main character, and then you don't even see him for the first half hour or so.
Right. You really don't, yeah.
But it turns out in the end, it's really not his story.
Right.
It's more Andrew Garfield's story than it is his, but it's mainly Dr. Parnassus's story.
And I
which
didn't
is
even
funny
get the
because the first
feeling
time
that it was Andrew Garfield's story, to be honest.
I just
It
mean
was
it's
more her story, I felt, than anybody. Him, well...
I just mean it was more Andrew Garfield's than Heath Ledger's.
Right.
In
true,
terms of a hierarchy here.
Heath Ledger's just the... Would you call him the antagonist? He's the...
I would call Satan the antagonist.
Well, Heath Ledger's like the
He's the new person who comes into their lives and kind of...
The stick in the spokes that just kind of like makes the whole thing go downhill for them, you know?
Yeah, but not at first. Like, it does seem like he's going to do good for them.
Yeah. And you get the feeling like it's totally like a tale of redemption.
Mm-hmm.
But of it...
And then he's
totally
irredeemable.
I mean, of course, we should have known walking into it. We're watching a Terry Gilliam movie.
Yeah.
Who loves to be like, no, we're not going to do that. And the devil just goes, oh yeah, I won. Like, huh. Like, this whole battle of...
His line is like, damn it, I won.
Like, and that's something I would just imagine Terry Gilliam just like sort of like cackling to himself about, you know. God love him.
Yeah, like the story, like I didn't know anything about it coming into this. I actually thought this was sort of like set in olden times, like most fantasy tales or something. I didn't know who the characters were, who Dr. Parnassus was. I didn't even know this was about like a bet with the devil kind of a movie. Knew absolutely nothing. But that's sort of it. Dr. Parnassus is an immortal something monk. He was a monk at one point.
Yeah, that was the only thing that wasn't really clear to me.
I don't know
it
where
was
he came
like
from.
he's not exactly God. He's not Jesus. He's just
sort of a stand-in for God on Earth. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I thought it was weird that Tom Waits is the devil, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mr. Nick.
We watched Prince of Darkness yesterday for the podcast.
Yeah.
Leading into this is kind of fitting.
This is much funnier than Prince of Darkness.
Yeah. I think my struggle with a lot of Terry Gilliam movies lately is that they're more about the Imaginarium in this case. They're more about the visual aspects of like, let's do something that looks cool and interesting, but the stories have been getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Like less cohesive. And they always kind of were.
Smaller. This one is like huge forces at play here.
Well, I don't mean smaller and smaller. I mean like
it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah,
all the time.
the through line is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Like I feel like Fisher King was the pinnacle of him being able to help tell a cohesive emotional story.
Mm-hmm.
Like something where you're emotionally attached to a character. You know, you feel for Robin Williams' character in that movie.
Yes.
And you also feel for Jeff Bridges and his plot line with his wife and everything and how they are struggling and like there's some emotional gravity to that movie. There's not much emotional gravity other than the fact that you're watching Heath Ledger's last performance and there's kind of
it
that
comes with
semi-sweet moment that you mentioned in the middle where it's like Johnny Depp's first scene.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, I wonder how the Ledger family felt about that scene because
it wasn't just because it was Johnny Depp's first scene. It was because what he was talking about.
He was commenting on the fact that Heath Ledger's died without saying it.
They're standing at sort of a river Styx type thing, a big black river with a gondola, and these little tiny memorializing boats go downstream with James Dean and all these famous people, whatever.
Princess Di,
yeah. And Johnny Depp has this short speech about how, like, yeah, but now they'll never get sick. They'll never get old.
They never,
And you can join
They never
them.
get old. They never die.
And it's like, man, that's got to be a really tough thing to hear after Heath Ledger died, you know?
Yeah.
Of course, this was, what, a year or two after the fact
Yeah, it was a while
that it was
after.
released?
But
So, I don't know.
that was the only thing for me that really had any emotional impact, and that was because it was coming from a place of real emotional trauma
Yeah.
from the filmmaker themselves. And I don't know how well, Johnny Depp and all these other actors who came on board to like replace him, how I feel like they might have done it. I wonder if they would have done it if it was any other director besides Terry Gilliam. They might have had more of an attitude of, well, how dare this person try to finish this movie
Yeah.
without this person? Whereas Terry Gilliam has this
there's
track
even-
record of horrible things happening.
There's even people talking about that with Carrie Fisher in the Star Wars episode.
Right? How dare they? Yeah.
Whichever one we're on now. 8. Yeah, 8 and 9. And the Disney has come out and said, no, we're not going to CG it. But didn't the family members come out and say came to some arrangement?
I don't understand why they wouldn't. But I mean, my personal opinion is that particular character is so iconic. If it were me, I would just recast the role, and that would piss. Well,
They're only actors.
No matter what you do, you're going to piss people off. Any choice, there's going to be a group of people that hates. It just depends on how big that group of people is.
You might as well do something that uses an actual person and doesn't require a bunch of poring over photos.
What
of a
about
dead
Peter
person to
Cushing's
recreate.
family? I mean, Peter Cushing's dead. I mean, I guess he lived a longer life than Carrie Fisher, but
They're living high off of the Dracula money, man. They don't care about the Star Wars money.
yeah, that's probably true. They probably didn't make anything on Star Wars. I don't know, the cohesion of the story. I can't
It's not
even
that it
remember some of the titles of his movies most recently. What was the one with the little girl and Jeff Bridges?
What?
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't. What?
Terry Gilliam had directed a pretty low budget movie.
A little
with
girl and Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges and his little daughter. I think it's his daughter, and they live in a little house on a hill in the middle of Canada or something weird.
Canada, so
I
weird.
can't even remember. It was about the girl's dreams and her adventures and everything, and I don't remember.
I don't know anything about this. Are you making this up?
No,
You could
I've
be.
seen it. I don't remember what the hell the name of the movie's called.
Slipstream.
Yeah, might as well be. I don't know. What was the last? Was Fear and Loathing the last movie that Gilliam did that felt studio level?
No, Brothers Grimm. That was
I
definitely
guess that was
studio level.
after, yeah. That's true. That was after.
And that was another one with Heath Ledger, yes? Matt Damon and Heath Ledger?
Because he's done so many movies that, even though they're big in scope, like you said, they're not. Obviously, this isn't Warner Brothers producing these movies. The visual effects in this movie are not great.
I just wanted to mention it. There are huge stretches of the Imaginarium stuff that feel like a mid-90s ABC miniseries.
Yeah.
It felt like Merlin or...
Well, it felt like Picard was being shown around by Q.
yeah. Yeah.
On the,
it was... This is only from 7 years ago. 7 or 8 years ago now. And the effects look like they are 20 years old. And I'm sure it was a budget thing. But
well, that's what when I saw the trailers for Zero Theorem,
same thing.
Kind of looked like the same thing, and that's why I never saw the movie, because I didn't have any interest in sitting through something that was just like an assault on your senses. As far as that's what that movie looked like, an assault on your senses. As far as it seemed like he was making. I can't. I don't even know why I'm talking about that movie because I haven't seen it, but
You just
it seemed
hate
like
it
a
so much
commentary.
already.
I love Terry Gilliam so much.
You hate to see
His
him
style.
sink to such depths.
No, I think that this kind of goes back to our conversation about John Carpenter and a filmmaker being given too many options and not having the creative edge that they once had because they have all the whatever they want. He can do CGI. He can have these huge, massive things, and there's some very cool visuals, but they're not done the way they should have been done.
Right.
They should have been done the way that Terry Gilliam knows how to make them great, because that's what he's good at.
Yeah.
And
but then it wouldn't have the same sense of scale, like all these sweeping CG shots, going through the Imaginarium, if it was all done with models like in Brazil. And little puppet guys on wings.
I feel like he's creative enough he could have figured it out.
Oh, I totally agree. I just think the people producing the movie did not want that.
No, they didn't want it. And it's clear they didn't, I don't know. That's just a case of, I think, a filmmaker being out of there in a different generation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he didn't grow up knowing how to shoot green screen on stage.
Right.
But,
yeah, you could sell.
Gareth Edwards did.
Right.
He knows how to film for visual effects. The guy who does Chappie.
Mm-hmm. Blomquist? No.
Blomquist.
That's a character name from Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Blomquist.
That's his name?
They're both, like, similar.
Oh. Fuck, who's the guy in Dragon Tattoo?
Neil Blomquist is in Dragon Tattoo? What is that? No, Blomkamp. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Blomkamp. I've told you.
I was like, it doesn't sound right.
Shit, I lost my train of thought.
What's your favorite Gilliam film?
Probably 12 Monkeys, just because I saw it enough at the right time in my life where it like stuck in my craw.
Was that a movie that you felt was complete?
It's a time travel movie, so it's about that loop, so it's hard to make that story feel complete because it just lets the loop keep going. It's an ongoing process, and he'll never get out of it.
I guess I only ask that question because it feels like, to me, whenever I watch Gilliam films, it feels like they are incomplete in a way, and I think that goes back to lacking the emotional resonance.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sometimes you're just watching because it's interesting to see what he came up with, but if you're drawn as a moviegoer, like when I watch a movie, I want to be able to relate to the characters, and you latch onto one or two, and you want to see their path. That's typical movie audience.
Well,
but
in that
these
sense,
are so kind of like detached
Mm-hmm.
in a way that it's hard to sometimes. All this beautiful imagery can be boring because you don't have the emotional grip or something that you can grab onto.
I guess in that sense, like Brazil, 12 Monkeys, and Fisher King, they all fit that bill for me. Like the emotional conclusion, they feel like they went somewhere and did something.
Brazil too,
because even if he didn't win in the end, and it's been a long time since I've seen it, this is not the Love Conquers All version.
Now we're just spoiling movies left and right.
We've seen a character make his choices.
Yeah.
Just like in this movie. A big thing is made about choices. You're either going with the dark side or the light side.
Right.
And in this case, it doesn't work because the people we were supposed to be attached to, well, the people who are really making these choices end up not mattering a whole lot in the end. They're just kind of...
Like Christopher Plummer or Heath Ledger?
Heath Ledger. I mean, the movie is really Christopher Plummer's story. It's about him continuing to try to like win back his daughter after she stormed off and decided she belonged in hell.
Even though that happens within like the last 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. But we get the whole rest of the movie is a slice of their life, so we know what he has been going through.
Yeah.
It doesn't really... We don't get it enough, I guess. I don't know how to phrase this.
Well, I didn't know enough of Christopher Plummer's story to really latch on to him.
Mm-hmm.
There's something there. But you don't feel like the loss of his wife,
Yeah, off screen.
It's off screen. They kind of just talk about it. It's hearsay. You don't feel the emotional impact of it,
Right.
There's no... The only interesting plot line in this movie to me is the daughter and her the daughter and Andrew Garfield's their separate quests for love, or for, in her case, growing up,
mm-hmm.
and in his case, falling in love with her. It seems like those are the only things that are cohesive enough to really latch onto. There's something there with Heath Ledger's character, but it kind of gets lost, and I kind of wonder if that is because he died and they weren't able to really wrap it up.
Yeah,
because he does kind of, his character just kind of dwindles away.
The last time they go into the Imaginarium, he's trying to do the good thing. Like,
right.
Consciously, he goes in trying to save the daughter's life. What's her name? Something like.
But yeah, you're right.
He goes in, but then it totally switches in a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
And then he's more obsessed with fame and fortune and stuff. And he's like physically attacking the people who are trying to stop that from happening.
It's like he went in there to fake it again, even though, when he goes in, before he goes in, he's going in there for real to save her. Mm-hmm. But when he's in there, he's going in there to fake it and save her at the same time.
He just wants that great feeling that he got the previous time.
Yeah, which falls in line with what we know about him, but at the same time,
he's a total douchebag.
I get the feeling that the original script was written very differently.
Yeah. I think it affected an awful lot.
Yeah.
Maybe if they had him come out of the Imaginarium keeping one of his other faces, that would have been a little too strange. I don't know. But he's really trying. Terry Gilliam is really trying. Like, I've noted that some of the CG landscapes totally feel like Terry Gilliam illustrations.
Yeah.
But it is purely like, hey, look at all this crazy shit I got in my head. And it's like the story's an afterthought.
Well, you were watching it and you said the Imaginarium didn't seem like it took up that much of the movie. For me, like, it felt like there's almost like 20 minutes that happens in there, which, if you consider that they're creating an entire CG world for a low-budget film, that's, I don't know how...
A sixth of the movie, yeah.
I don't know how they, we're basically watching a previs version of the movie. And,
yes,
which
folks,
makes sense,
it's that bad.
Which makes sense, like... If there was only one sequence in the whole movie, they probably could have pulled it off correctly. But the fact that there were like hundreds of shots,
I don't like the early stuff where the kid was shooting down balloons with his little video game thing, and there was a hot air balloon made of Dr. Parnassus' face in a big circle. I thought that stuff looked okay in the first act of the movie, but then everything after that, when Heath Ledger goes in, really felt shitty.
I thought it all looked terrible.
I mean, I'm sure if I went back and looked closer, it would look terrible. But
it might have been different artists,
or else they thought they were gonna have enough money to do it all at that level, and then they kind of went, "Oh shit, they're adding a lot more Imaginarium stuff. We got to dial it back."
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, who knows? I'm sure there are many articles written about this movie.
At some point, we'll have to do a different Gilliam film, and I am kind of curious. I'm really fascinated to hear or see. Quixote when it finally comes out.
Oh, yeah, the new one.
Because that'll be interesting to see, given how much he has emotionally invested in that movie.
Yeah, he's got no excuses. He's had like 15 years to try and get this thing done.
Yeah.
He's got it all on paper. He's just got to translate it to film now.
You know what it makes me? Earlier today, I was watching the behind the scenes of Star Wars Episode 8 that they put up today on the internet. Did you see that?
No, I'm not watching any of that stuff.
Nothing?
No, I'm going to go in fresh, clean.
I was going to say you should watch it because it'd get you excited about it.
I'm already excited.
But there was a shot in there that I went, that looks like Brazil. Popped into my head as I was watching it. And I was like, that's cool because that's something I didn't expect to see in a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
And as I'm driving over here, I didn't know you were going to choose. I brought 5 movies. You picked this one. I didn't know you were going to choose this one. But in my head, I thought it'd be interesting to see if you took a director like Terry Gilliam and gave him a Star Wars movie and you backed him fully.
Yeah, didn't fire him halfway through.
You didn't fire him halfway through. And you
just let him do his thing.
You made sure the visual effects were done the proper way. Mm-hmm. What kind of movie you would come up with would come out in the end?
Yeah, I think a person like Terry Gilliam has no interest in that.
Probably not. You're probably right.
Yeah. When you're doing a big franchise movie like that, it's an interesting thought experiment, but I feel like the kind of person you're talking about wouldn't even know what to do with that huge blockbuster kind of movie.
You're totally right.
They'd rewrite the fucking thing. They'd have to make it something else that isn't that thing anymore.
Yeah.
So the experiment is over, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, now that
Maybe I have no imagination.
We live in the blockbuster era where all movies have to be blockbusters, and I feel like only just now, with the surge of Netflix content and like the amount of money they're spending on product, like we're starting to see like $2-3 million movies come back again,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of disappeared after video went away.
Yeah, and they have to do that because no one is buying the movies anymore. They're just buying a Netflix subscription,
Right.
and watching it as many times as they feel like.
Yeah.
I wonder how they even keep track of like the numbers they're getting, like their own ratings. How do they define? Oh, we made X amount of money through this one thing because everybody watched it this week.
I don't think they care. I mean,
As long as they're selling more
they
subscriptions.
obviously know their numbers. I think they're probably by now. I'm sure they built some algorithm that figures out like, okay, this X amount of people like this kind of shit.
Yeah, so let's buy more of that.
We have X amount of money to throw into what they watch, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
So let's spend all that money. It doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter how bad it is or good it is. As long as those numbers, subscriber base stays the same. That's a totally different model than Hollywood's used to.
Mm-hmm.
And like every other company outside of Netflix and maybe Hulu and Amazon or whoever else is doing something similar, they're probably all suffering.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how HBO is able to stay afloat without I'm glad they're adopting them.
I mean, I would say that HBO Go, is that what it is?
HBO Now,
whatever.
HBO Go is for people who have a subscription already.
Oh, okay.
Now is for people who don't have any.
I would say, just based on evidence from people I've talked to, like the number of people who say, "Oh, I got to go home and watch Westworld or whatever, Game of Thrones." HBO Now is the second most popular one behind Netflix, more than Hulu, I would say. I don't know anybody who has Hulu.
I got it just to watch Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, a lot of people did, and it's like that's what you got to do. You have to have an exclusive, high quality thing.
Which is
to
funny.
make people sign
I
up.
think about that though, and I'm like, that's hilarious because Netflix has. If you think about Netflix and HBO side by side, like Netflix must literally just go in and not even consider HBO a thing,
Right.
because the size of that company has to be one.
They got like billions more. dollars.
1/100th the size of Netflix by now.
Yeah, HBO, they're only showing like their own shows.
Yeah.
Netflix at
They
least
do
has
have high
access to other
quality
people's.
content. Showtime's definitely does not. Showtime, I think, is owned by HBO
Mhm.
now. Yeah, we're off on a tangent on this,
Yeah.
but
How are you doing on time, by the way?
I should probably get wrapping up here pretty soon. But
Okay.
any parting thoughts?
I think I hit all my points. I imagine Terry Gilliam with the digital revolution of like computer generated images.
Yeah.
He must have thought to himself, this is my time. This is like I can finally make all these things happen in as realistic a fashion as is ever going to be possible. And then he gets this movie with a smaller budget and he can't do it.
Yeah.
It must be very frustrating for him. Or maybe he's totally happy. Maybe he doesn't mind the lower quality. But I have a feeling
I
he does.
think that's my fear, is that he doesn't mind it.
Hmm.
And, I'm sure most of his audience doesn't. But the problem with him is that he's such a niche director. So he has niche fans, and those are usually the most cynical about critical visual effects. Whereas, like, if my mom watched something and it had bad visual effects, she wouldn't even know.
Yeah, but she wouldn't
watch Terry Gilliam. I feel like
Catch-22.
I almost feel like this script would have been better suited for Michel Gondry, or someone that has a better understanding of modern technique.
You are not wrong.
That involves special effects.
Let's get Michel Gondry on the phone
to remake this
one and see who he kills during the filming.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. Well,
I think we could wrap it up.
yeah, we could talk more about Gilliam another time.
Yes, we will.
We're definitely going to pick him up again someday. Maybe we'll have him on the show, right?
Maybe.
What's that look in your eye? Anyway.
I get nervous about meeting famous people because I have nothing to talk about. I would be Chris Farley on SNL. Oh, you remember Brazil? That was awesome. That's it. That's all I would have to say to Terry Gilliam. I'm sure he's like a person with more to offer than just the movies, but I wouldn't
just want
know
to
what
get
to
you
do.
high, man.
Maybe. Got any acid?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well,
Let's get out of here.
another episode down.
Woo!
We will see you guys later.
Bye.
That's not the name of our show, but never mind. Go to hell.
We will see you guys later.com. We're on Twitter at see you guys later. But not really.
Yeah, right.